Hello everyone. So I wanted to make a video going over my build this league. Haven't sort of been in a position where the character was good enough to show off until this point really. Like, it was good, but there's a lot of good tornado shot builds out there, and now I'm sort of missing like two last pieces which are quite expensive, and I'll be farming for them probably for the rest of the league, and that's when I'll sort of put this character aside. So obviously I'm a Deadeye, level 98, sort of been stuck at level 98 doing the content I've been doing. I've been doing the tier 16 burials with Legion. Had a pretty good time there. It's way more fun than Abyss. In terms of the gear, got the mirror bow. This cost the mirror. It's the best fizz bow in the game. It's 1200 DPS. Very, very strong item. Really happy to have picked that up this league. And then obviously in the bow I've got Tornado Shot, Mirage Archer, Awakened Fork, Awakened LA Damage of Attacks, Inspiration, and Vicious Proj. Quiver. This quiver I picked up for like 66 div a really long time ago. So this was back when I was Ellie. But this quiver is really good because it just scales all of the multipliers that Hatred scales as well. So we get flat crit, flat multi, life, flat damage, and then elemental damage of attack skills. So this was really decent to pick up for, like, I think I paid 66 divines for it. So yeah, not too bad. And then my helmet, it's just a double rarity with life, mana reservation, efficiency of skills, and then 45% increased rarity dropped by slain enemies. So this gives me like 46 rarity base, and then just under, so like 91 rarity on rare and unique enemies. So pretty nice pickup, and with a reservation efficiency as well, it works out pretty nicely. Got a +1 greeds, so I've got Enlighten level 4, Grace, Purity of Elements, Hatred, and Petrified Blood in here, and then the last socket is just my Blood Rage, so I can trigger that quite nicely. Obviously it has to be +1 to make the Enlighten level 5. That's how I run all those auras. In my gloves I've got Life Tap, Force Blink, Mark on Hit, Sniper's Mark. It's pretty standard setup. And then the gloves are Spell Suppression, Attack Speed, the Incursion Temple mod for hits against shield enemies, and life. In a perfect world, these would have the life prefix already on them, and then I would have craft damage whilst leeching, but these are good enough for now, and when I get the quiver, the implicit on these will change to Spell Suppression. That's sort of my plan at least. I've got a Mage Blood on at the minute, but I mainly just run the Headhunter. The Mage Blood is pretty much just for looting, which is why it's only a 2 flask one, because it just uses the first 2 flasks, so I get the movement speed modifier from that. But I'm mostly using Headhunter for this. My Venters, it's 9%, 36% with really good res and high life. I really needed the lightning resistance, and this was the only one that would have put me over lightning resist cap. As you can see, my fire, cold res are super overcapped. But there's not really much I can do about that. I paid like 70 div for this, and then I'm mirroring it, so that was like 100 divines for those two. But these are probably the ring that I'm going to be using for the rest of the league. I'm probably not going to change this out because it's pretty much fixes my resistances so I don't need any resistance on gear whatsoever if I have the incursion mod. So it works out quite nicely. So that's why I've done that. And then the amulet, I've gone for the focused amulet because the simplex, you're paying a mirror for 50 rarity, and this is quite close in damage as well as providing quant. So it's 20% quant, 33% physical damage as extra cold, 40% projectile speed, and 32% increased projectile damage. So it's a really nice amulet. This was like 15% better than my crit multi quant Great Wolf, so that's why I went for that one. And then yeah, the quiver there, very solid overall quiver. Yeah, flasks, I'm just running a gold flask, so reduced duration, increased effect for maximum rarity. Movement speed, Quicksilver, obviously just as important to be moving fast in your maps. And then Alchemist Jade Flask with 60% evasion, just to get that bit extra with reduced duration, increased effect, pretty much up all the time. Perfect Divination Distillate, just to get the most out of it, so 30%, 12%. And then the Progenesis. My Progenesis is quite bad, the duration is quite low, but I always have it up in maps, so it's not really something I'm too fussed about. Yeah, passive tree. Obviously I've got the Thread of Hope socketed in here. It's pretty staple for most ranger builds these days. And I've picked up Path of the Hunter, Hired Killer, Harrier, Will of Blades, Blood Siphon, Weapon Artistry, Aspect of the Lynx, quick step, and finesse, as well as forces of nature and perfectionist. So these are, it's pretty much like a staple. You kind of need thread of hope. It's insanely huge for anyone on this side of the tree. The amount of benefit you get from it is absolutely insane. And obviously we're getting the mana reservation efficiency here, so that we can run again all the auras that we are running. I've picked up reservation mastery. I have auras from your skills have 10% increased effect on you. If I go into POB, it is like slightly better to run, like you get more damage. So the 8% increased damage of each auras affecting you gives you 3.7% increased damage in total, which is quite nice. But then the flat 10% increased auras gives you 2.5, and you're getting evasion, some cold res, and so it gives you more resistances, and you're only losing that 1% damage for a bit more defense. So I've always opted to run that one there. Heart of Oak here, Primal Spirit here. You need the int quite badly, so Primal Spirit's pretty necessary. Like if I unspec this, I need 23 int. Yeah, pretty standard ranger tree. Obviously picking up projectiles here and down here. And then on my charms, I've got additional proj here, and then adrenaline on low life. So the reason I don't have onslaught is because I'm getting corrupting blood immunity and phasing here. I've got crit and cull here, and then I'm running frenzy of onslaught, so consumes all frenzy charges when you hit an enemy at maximum frenzy charges to gain onslaught for 1 second per charge consumed, and you basically always got onslaught up. So that's how I deal with onslaught, and don't have to run a silver flask or have any like onslaught on charm, and same as a phasing on kill charm. One thing I would change here would be when I mirror the quiver, ideally, so I'll have spell suppression implicit on the gloves, and then spell suppression on the adrenaline charm, which is sort of my plan anyway. And then I would unspec these two nodes here, and then I would go for a 12 passive down here once I get level 100. So I'll go for the 12 passive down here, and that'll pretty much be where I finish the build off. And the reason you can change the implicits here to cold conversion to spell suppression is because the quiver gives you cold conversion through the synthesis implicit. But yeah, other than that, pretty standard. Elemental mastery, 25% chance to treat enemy monster elemental resistances as inverted, super important. And another important node would be the projectile mastery for knockback enemies when you get a critical strike with projectile damage. This is super nice to have when doing like the super high juice maps. It does make a pretty significant difference. And then picked up spell suppression where I can. Obviously as a ranger playing magic find and using a divination distillate, you want increased flask duration. Flasks applied if you have increased effect, super important. And then the clusters down here, I've got arcing shot and broadside with martial prowess. Obviously we're not speccing into broadside, it's just there to sort of put these two in position. So you take the arcing shot, martial prowess here, and then my watchers is just chaos res whilst affected by purity of elements, and then 50% increased cold damage while affected by hatred. And then I just have a rare jewel here because, like I said, I don't have forbidden flesh and flame. This one is pretty decent. I picked up like 10 div, gives me like a fair amount of damage. And then up here, similar martial prowess, feed the fury, and then fuel the fight. So we take these for the leech and the damage whilst leeching, and then obviously martial prowess just gives flat damage, attack speed, global accuracy, and increased damage with ailments. So just a bit more damage. And then I have a spiked concoction here, and that's to get alchemist genius when you use a flask. And then my medium, obviously streamlined repeater, pretty standard for tornado shot builds. If you feel like you don't want spike concoction, you can just run another streamlined repeater here and get a bit more damage if you sort of feel like it. And then bow mastery obviously increases and reductions to projectile speed, also apply to damage with bows. So it's pretty nice for the quiver base, the feathered owl quiver. But that's pretty much it. Obviously this build is pretty standard for a ranger build. It's not really a build guide, but just go over the character that I've been playing. It can pretty much handle everything. Some of the like super high juice maps are a bit sketchy, but we sort of circumvent that by having a shitload of damage and just sort of playing it safe whilst using steel skin on left click. yeah, overall pretty happy with this character. I'll put the POB in the description, but yeah,